What is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I am joined by a man who is so talented that he's competing for Bellator Gold once again, but in a totally different weight class than last time. At Bellator 246, he steps back into the cage looking to hand fast rising star Patrick Mix his first loss and win the bantamweight title, and that man is the one and only Juan Archuleta. Senor Spaniard, thanks for the time to talk this title opportunity coming up.
What's up, Burgos? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you. I have so many questions for you, so I'll get right
Okay.
into it. So what is fascinating about this matchup with you and Patrick is it almost seems like you guys came to like an open understanding of pushing for this fight together would kind of be beneficial for you both. You guys have talked some trash on social and in interviews, but there doesn't seem to be like a dislike, more of a mutual respect between two dudes who feel that, you know, they both should be in this vacant title fight. Was there like a legit conversation at some point between you two to work together to push this idea, or did it just kind of come along like organically on social with some friendly banter and it just became this logical idea to make this fight?
Well, for me, I could speak for myself that after the Corrales fight, I was told I was going to be the 145 alternate just in case someone got hurt for the tournament. I said, okay, so that's why I fought Henry. And stayed at the 145 weight class. And then, lo and behold, out of nowhere, this pandemic hit us all.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, let me go ahead and let me get strong, let me get big as I can, and heal some injuries up. And because they said it's going to be a while till we fight again.
Yep.
And so then I started to think, and I was like, man, there's no way that no one's not healed come whenever we fight again when the tournament starts back up. I was like, so I had some talks with my management, my coaches, and I said, hey, what do you think if I drop back down to 135? And they were like, well, you're supposed to be the alternate. I said, dude, everyone's going to be healed up and itching to fight. There's no way that they're not going to be ready for this tournament. They said, well, it's an idea. I said, well, what if we fight Sergio Pettis? He's just signed with Bellator. And so we got on the phone. We tried to play matchmaking. They said, come on, man, Sergio just signed with Bellator. We're not going to give him a title fight after his fight. And I said, okay, well, who's the next best person? And Patrick Mix came to mind. He beat Bandejas just like I did, and then he fought in Risen and had a win, and also had a submission over Chapman. And so rest in peace, Chapman. But so it made sense. It was like, okay, well, who else was in the 35 division that was gonna be in title contention? So Patchy made the most sense. I feel like he's still super green in MMA. I think he has a strong grappling base, but as far as well-roundedness, we'll find out come fight night. But so yeah, I started pushing, and once they said they weren't going to give it to Sergio, I started pushing for the next best person, which was Patchy Mix, because they're both all of us are up in the for title contention. It could be Sergio and Patchy fighting. It could be Sergio and me fighting. It could be me and Patchy. So they ended up going with me and Patchy, and so it made sense.
I respect the influence you already have, that you were able to put this one together like that. That's pretty awesome. Now, a lot of folks became familiar with you during this run in Bellator. They may have missed you winning titles in 4 weight classes in King of the Cage, and even in this run, they only got to see you compete at once at 135 pounds. Explain to the people that may be curious, if you could sum up the differences between 135 pound and 145 pound Juan Archuleta, what would they be? Because some may wonder if 135 is really your optimal weight class.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're going to be back at your weight class. But, the truth is I train to be the strongest and most healthiest I could be at every weight class, no matter what. I work with very well hand in hand with Sam Calavita, who makes sure, I'm pound for pound the strongest I could possibly be going into that weight class. And so we train for it. There's obviously notice that I had to have. There's a lot more discipline fighting at 135 and a lot more sacrificing that you have to make fighting at 135, doing runs in morning and night, bike riding, missing family events and things like that. But it's all sacrifice, and it's all worth sacrificing. My family understands it. And, we get it. There's a short window in my life to do this. And, right now, everything's knocking on the door, and I'm glad I got the extra time because, we were trying to rush it to make sure we were the first fight back in July, and I compromised my immune system, and I ended up catching COVID, and, got caught in a tough situation, but luckily found a great doctor named Dr. Bennett that was able to pull me out and gave me an antibiotic to help me out and, continue to stay on it just for my family's sake. And, it's a preventative as well. So, I've been very fortunate throughout this time to, rebound and not be affected by it as much as most people are.
I remember talking to like Lyoto Machida, and he was talking about the differences between fighting at middleweight and light heavyweight. And like at light heavyweight, he felt a little faster than certain guys there, but at middleweight, he felt certain ways. Like, do you feel there's certain pros and cons? Like, do you feel that at bantamweight maybe you are a little faster, or maybe you are a little stronger than opposed to the other class? Like, where do you feel you improve as a fighter going down to bantamweight?
I mean, even fighting Pitbull, I felt like I was stronger and faster than them. There were just some incidents, and my mind wasn't right going in there due to fighting with the commission before. But it was just like that. That was the best I could possibly be that day on my performance. So I lost the fight. But as far as each weight class, going to 155, 145, 135, I feel like I'm stronger and faster than everyone I fight.
Now, you mentioned it earlier, Patrick, and his grappling, because that really is his calling card. The guy has 9 submissions and 13 wins, but we all know how skilled of a grappler you are in your own right. Have you done anything specific to prepare for his grappling in terms of, like, training partners that maybe have a similar style or maybe a similar body type? Because he's long, taller, lanky, maybe. Did you do anything specific for him for this camp, or is kind of status quo as before?
No, I always work to improve. I'm always in the gym anyway. I was very fortunate to get add more training partners to my training, which was Brian Ortega and some of the guys he brings to the table. Okay. Yeah, and I've been working hand in hand with Joe Stevenson, my whole career, and then Felipe Del Monica down at Gracie Baja, who has took me leaps and bounds over in grappling and jiu-jitsu and understanding jiu-jitsu. And so, we just continue to work to improve and get better and be the best martial artist I could possibly be.
When scouting him, or maybe just watching him in previous fights like that, is his grappling as good as advertised, or has he maybe benefited from facing a lot of like regional guys and up-and-coming talent, as he was an up-and-coming talent, and grappling with you is going to be something he's going to learn is going to be a big difference than what he's encountered in the past?
Hopefully that's the case. We're going to go in there and find out. It's going to be as good as it is. And when deep waters come and he's looking to hit a submission right away, and he's trying to end the fight right away because he doesn't want to be exposed in certain positions, we're going to find out how he is when he's put to the test. And so everyone knows how I am when I'm put to the test. I mean, I don't feel like his grappling is better than Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull is well-rounded MMA fighter, so he might have great grappling. That's all fine and dandy, but when you start getting punched in the face, elbow in the face, it brings a different dynamic, and like you said, he's been able to fight some good guys, going and also submitting them. But we look at the fight with Bandejas. I mean, I fight guys that are in their prime or have great momentum going. I fought Bandejas when he was full of confidence, believed in himself, didn't care about his coaching, was like, oh, I got this. Because I went and trained with Nick Catone and these guys, and they were like, oh, yeah, man, like Bandejas was full of himself. Like, he thought he was just going to go in there and just walk all over you. And then, so when you have that type of attitude and momentum going into a fight, those guys are tough to fight. And when you take their momentum away, their next fight, we've seen it. Bandejas had to reconfigure his whole life. He moved his life from New Jersey to Miami. He was nervous about his coaching. He blamed his coaches. He didn't have the same momentum. He wasn't the same guy. He was scared. He was literally backing up the whole fight, like scared to make a mistake against Patchy, and you've seen it. And so, going in there, with the fight with me, he was full of confidence, and you've seen it. He marched forward right away. And so that's what Patchy's going to do. And that's why I love these type of fights. Like, I fight people that have great momentum. They're on a great winning streak. Pitbull just came off a huge knockout over Michael Chandler. And I was like, I want that fight first if I'm doing the fight, and so I took that fight right away because I wanted to challenge myself. And same thing with this fight. Patchy was the next best guy going into 135. I wanted to fight Sergio coming out of the UFC. It was obviously a bigger name, but the next best opponent was a guy that was 13-0 on a great momentum, full of confidence, believing he's 24-0. But he's going to learn there's levels to fighting in MMA and different opponents.
Now, going back to the idea, like you mentioned, exposed and stuff like that, because I'm sure people will assume the area he can most obviously be exposed in is his striking, because he is such a good grappler. When it comes to his striking, it would seem like you have a big advantage there in your career, including in your run in Bellator. You've proven the danger that you bring to fighters with your hands. Talk to me about his striking. Is it better than people may appreciate? Is there a big advantage for you in this fight? And is the true challenge from your point of view when it comes to his striking, is it about that he has that 3-inch reach advantage? He has the 4-inch height advantage just because he's long and rangy. That's the biggest thing you have to challenge yourself with when getting to him.
So, yeah, looking at his camp and being at his camp before over at Jackson Winks, they don't really work with you unless you have a big fight coming up. And so, you got Six Gun Gibson and Michael Winklejohn, who I've worked with, and great coaching staff. They didn't start working with them until this fight. And so, I've known them well. My family has poured money into Jackson Winks into Greg Jackson. And when he started it, gave a lot of fighters opportunity to make money. And so, I've known a lot about that camp. And, they don't just take you in just because you're a fighter. They take you in if you're gonna have a big profile fight.
Yeah.
And so this is gonna be the first fight that he's gonna be able to showcase what Jackson Wink brings for their stand-up ability. So he might have fell in love with his hands and might have made a mistake, and we're going to find out come September 12th.
In the event like this fight does not go your way, because Patrick is talented, he's an up-and-coming star for a reason.
Of course.
What's your next move if there isn't an automatic rematch in the cards? You mentioned lightweight early. Do you want to stay at 135? Will you return to featherweight, or is competing at 155 something you have thought about as a guy that's won titles in 4 weight classes before?
Yeah, I mean, I asked for the Benson fight. I asked for the Roger Huerta fight. And I've asked for big, high-profile fights, and they kind of laughed me off. But I was like, hey, man, I'm serious. Like, I train with Brian Ortega. I train with Cub Swanson. I train with Syed Awad. I train with Georgie Karakanya. Yeah. I train with big guys, and with Ray Daniels and all these guys. And, I guess they find it as a laughing matter. But, it's not a laughing matter to me. Like, I've proven myself. I fought guys like Chris Tickle and guys that were 6'2", from Lithuania, and kickboxers and things like that, improving myself. So, I'm willing and able to fight at any weight class, and anything that makes sense, that makes my name bigger or makes it an exciting fight. Because at the end of the day, I'm a performer, and I want to go out there and put on a performance for my fans and make the biggest fights possible.
And that's an interesting point that you make, going off of what I was going to ask, in terms of you want fights that'll add to your name. If you have to go to another division, or even if you stay there, are you fine with, look, I got my title shot, okay, I know I got to work my way up, I got to win the 3 fights or the 2 fights in whatever division? Or do you feel like, look, I have name value, I'm getting paid good money, I want to fight big fights, so I want to go to lightweight, and I want to fight the Benson Henderson, or I want to fight the best fighter that loses in the Grand Prix? Like, what's your point of view? You fine with taking the ladder up and taking maybe not as big fights, or you only want big fights going forward no matter what?
Well, that's the difficult thing. Winning a title is like, now you're secured and locked down. At that weight class and fighting certain guys, up and coming guys. Sometimes they let you explore out, and if it makes sense for them or makes sense for viewership, they'll put it together. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm willing and able to fight big name guys. It's not a problem. So, going forward, first and foremost, I'm fighting Patchy Mix. He's the next big name out there in the division, and we'll see what happens. I'm able. Horiguchi will come back. Sergio Pettis will be there. Darian Caldwell. We'll see what happens with him. You have Goito. You have Bellator signing a lot of good 35ers, and I win the belt. It's my duty to defend it.
And that's perfectly transitioned to where I was going next, because I'm going to ask, let's say you win the title, who do you feel is the person that you would like to fight in a title, your first title defense? And you mentioned all 3 names I was going towards: Caldwell, Horiguchi, and then Pettis. Now, you know, what do you feel like you want to go for in terms of they check off all the boxes and that they're a worthy contender, they're a serious challenge, they're something for you to really work hard for in camp, and then they are a fight that people want to talk about that will help build your name. Of those three, if you're a champion, who do you want to see your first title defense against?
Well, I think we owe it to Horiguchi for being a champion and releasing the belt when he got hurt. You know, he didn't want to hold up the division. He
And you
said, "Hey, I'm
called for
hurt."
him in Madison Square Garden. I was there when you were calling for that fight with him.
Yeah, and that's originally what I wanted to do was fight 35s first, and that's why the fight with Dudu made sense. It was like, okay, but it was such a short notice fight. We both they said, "Hey, we want to see a great performance out of you guys. Let's just do it at 45." And I was like, "Okay, I'm fine with that." And lo and behold, they had plans for me to possibly fight for the featherweight Grand Prix as well. And so, you know, even if you know, things going forward, everything goes as planned. I beat Patchy Mix. I fight Horiguchi. I beat him. Like, Pitbull is looking to go 3 divisions, and he's, like I said, not that big of a guy. Like, I was towering over him after we took a picture and everything, so he can make 35s. I mean, that's a great rematch to have, and people would want to see, you know, can he do a 3 division? And that lines up, you know, me to relinquish the title and go up and have my rematch at 45 and relinquish again and go up in 55 and have another rematch if possible. You know, that's like overall, like, best case scenario for me, you know. But you know, first things first, like I said, is fighting Patchy and making sure I control what I can control.
Now, away from you and the fight coming up, we are all very much over 2020 as a society at this point. And however, I'm excited for early next year for the return of one of your good friends in TJ Dillashaw. You train with him all the time. I saw James Lynch mention, you talked with him earlier, he's going to be in your corner for this fight as opposed to the Patricio fight, which is awesome. Is the healthy and reconstructed TJ going to surprise some people when he gets back into the octagon next year as the person that sees him all the time?
Man, heck yeah. I'm so excited for him to get back in that division and, like, add more to that division, you know, because it's truly, like, one of the standout divisions right now in UFC. And, you know, they don't know what to do with it yet. They're just like, man, we have so many great fights, you know, and it's just like they could push it either way. And, you know, TJ getting back and going back to 35s, whether they want to see him fight right away for the title or put someone in there first, either way, he's going to stake his claim. And he's going to be stronger and more powerful of a hitter come by the time he fights, because literally every time we were training, his shoulder would dislocate every other practice. And it was like, man, this dude was dealing with a lot, you know, like not just one shoulder, both shoulders were completely just torn and had to get total reconstructive surgery on him. So I was surprised. It was time to make money for him, and he cashed in when he needed to, and that's why he just dealt with it. But now we're going to be able to see 2 years of healing all his injuries, nursing all his injuries that he had, and going out there and being able to be fully compacted and ready to go.